park as much as some might have expected. Megan?
Thank you.
Now we'll head down to Washington. Syndicated columnist Charles Krauthammer is joining us live with his thoughts on the speech. Charles.
I was stunned. This is a man who gave one of the great speeches of our time in 2004. And he gave one of the emptiest speeches I have ever heard on a national stage. Yes, it had cadence, and yes, there were deceptions in it, but that's not what's so striking about it. There was nothing in it. This is a man who believes that government can and should do a lot. There's nothing in here that tells us how he's going to go from today to tomorrow for any of the so-called goals and what government is going to do. What's he going to enact? At least Romney had a 5-point plan. What we heard from Obama was a vision, and he pulls numbers out of a hat. 100,000 new math and science teachers. He's got 600,000 more people working in natural gas. He's got 2 million more trainees. He doesn't say how we get from A to B. It's a vision. I have a vision of America where there's no disease and everybody has a private airplane. But unless I tell you how we get there, I've said nothing. And what's so surprising is that all he had left, he clearly can't speak about his record on the economy. It's not a good one. As we heard earlier, he didn't even speak about his achievements, the ones that liberals like, Obamacare, stimulus, etc., because they're unpopular. So at least he would talk about the future and what he's going to do. There was nothing there. I'm simply amazed that it was like, this is a guy who's the A student in the class who turns in a paper that's clearly a C, and the teacher is astonished and says, how could you do this? Why did you mail it in? And I felt the Biden speech was infinitely better because it was empathic and it carried the message. But the Obama speech I thought was flat and had no content in it.
Charles, there seemed to be
otherwise I loved it, really.
Note to follow.
There seemed to be an attempt by the president to rebut some of what we heard at the Republican National Convention on the issue of reliance on government. He had a quote that went, "As citizens, we understand that America is not about what can be done for us. It's about what can be done by us together through the hard and frustrating but necessary work of self-government." Your thoughts on that?
Well, it is the heart of his debate with Republicans, with Romney. It's the heart of the debate between left and right since the French Revolution. The individual or community, and he stands for the community, which he translates as government. So at that abstract level, it's the old argument. But that's not what you're talking about in an acceptance speech. When you've been in power for the 4 years, people expect you to say, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z, and we didn't hear any of that. So as a philosophical issue, yes, but without any of the meat on the bone, I think it rings quite hollow.
Charles, quickly, does it affect independents? Does it affect undecideds? Does it move the ball in any of these battleground states?
I think it does, and I think it's a negative. If you're an independent and you're still undecided and you aren't a committed person on the left or the right and you're sort of a pragmatist and you're listening and the president offers you numbers out of a hat, he wants a lot of this, a lot of that. He mentioned again and again wind and solar and algae. He didn't use the word, he used biofuels. And you say to yourself, I've heard all this. There's nothing new. This is what he's tried, he's talked about. Where is the meat to make me think that I should have hope and faith that we will achieve anything? And that's what I think is lacking. I think for independents, undecided, it will actually set him somewhat backwards.
Charles, thank you very much, as always.
Joining us now for some more analysis, Jonah Goldberg, at-large editor of National Review Online, Kirsten Powers, columnist for the Daily Beast, and former Howard Dean campaign manager Joe Trippi. Joe, your thoughts?
I thought it was a shock, everybody, but I thought it was a great night for Democrats. I do agree with Charles, though, that I think Joe Biden's speech was better than the president's. I really thought it was one of the best speeches at either convention, and a lot like Bill Clinton's, it was because I think he had some credibility, giving the view from inside of what he talked about, the courage that the president made in those two tough choices, which I think is still going to be a very signature line. Osama bin Laden's dead, and GM is